This video is for the step 2 for the extreme self-portrait. So if you're doing this project, you should already have your image traced, or all of the shapes with marker or Sharpie, and you should have labeled your values, the darkest being with a 1, and then as it gets lighter and lighter, it should be labeled as the numbers go up. So for example, your darkest value is going to be a 1, and then your next darkest value would be a 2, 3, 4, going that way. Okay? So you should already have this done, and you should have traced it onto a sheet of paper, and it should look something like this. So you can see that this has been traced, and I've also labeled very, very lightly on the piece of paper the values that I have here. Okay, so if you don't have this done, stop, do this first, then trace, using the light box, trace this and label your values. That's step 1. Now, if you've already done that, we're ready to go to the next step. So what we're trying to do is create a self-portrait that might look something like this, okay? These self-portraits are all right here along the wall if you want to see them, all right? But one thing that we're going to do with these self-portraits is we're going to create them using a monochromatic color scheme. Mono means one, and chrome means color, so it's using one color. But you can see here that there is actually shades and tints of the different color pink. So what you have to do is you have to decide what color do you want to use. So let's say, for example, you decide to do a monochromatic painting, and the color that you want to use is blue. All right. On the painting shelf right here, I have some of these palettes for you to use. And you are going, actually, you know what, we're not going to use those palettes. Never mind. You're going to use the magazine palette like you normally do to create your monochromatic color scheme. So you're going to get a piece of magazine, okay? Tear it off just like we always do, and you're going to create your colors. Now the first time you do this is going to be a little bit of an experiment, all right? So the colors that I know I need, if I'm using blue, the only colors that I should need are blue and white. So I'm going to get just one pump of blue like always, and I probably only need like a half pump of white. You could maybe do a full pump, okay? Now, I know perhaps that the pure blue might be my number 1. So whatever I labeled a number 1, that would be my pure blue. Okay, so I could, as I'm just kind of planning it out on my palette here, I might say, okay, I'm going to use this number 1 for my pure blue. Now, I need to know, so I might even like write it with a marker. This is going to be my number 1, okay? Now, you have practiced making tints already by doing your color wheel. Okay, so if I want my number 2 to be a little bit lighter than that, I'm going to scoop up just a little bit of white. Okay, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm thinking that this color here might be my number 2, but I don't even know if that's enough difference. So I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Okay, I'm going to say probably this is going to be my number 2. All right, so I've got my number 1 value and my number 2 value. You have to see enough difference in the color so that it will show enough contrast in the actual picture. So now I'm going to make my number 3. I'm going to scoop up even more white. Okay. I think I might need a little bit more white. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more on there. All right, and that's going to be my number 3. So in my painting, I only have 3 values. So I actually think there's maybe not enough difference between this 2 and this 3. So I'm going to add a little bit more white. All right. And I'm going to make that my number 3. All right. Now, once you have your values established, you know what that's going to be. all right, it would be time to start painting. So you're going to want to keep this palette. So you're going to want to write your name on it, all right, so that you can keep it. Even if you're not mixing your colors on it the next time, you're going to want to refer back to these colors, all right? But let's say you have your colors, you're going to mix up a good amount. So my number 1 is just pure blue, so there's nothing for me to mix, okay? I see I've mixed a little white in there just by mixing it, though, so be careful. Get your water well and have that there if you need it. So, but if I'm ready and I know that all my number 1s, and I have them labeled here with a lot of little numbers, a lot of little number 1s, a lot of little number 2s, so I don't get confused, then I'm ready to start painting. So I'm going to take my number 1 value that I have, and I'm going to paint everything that's number 1 a blue. When I get done with that, I'll go to my number 2, and I'll paint everything that's number 2 that lighter tint of a blue, and then everything that's number 3 that lighter tint of a number 3. All right? So that is the second step and the last step for your extreme monochromatic self-portrait. I'm going to put all the steps and examples right here on this board. So if you couldn't see something in the video, go look at it up there so you'll be able to do it. All of the same rules that you already know apply to painting. So put your newspaper down, make sure you have your no computers when you're painting at the desk. Make sure you have your water there, and make sure you're cleaning your brushes. Okay? Good luck.